Through the Leadership Lens is sponsored by Irish Propane Corporation, serving Western and Central New York. For all your residential and commercial propane needs, choose Irish Propane. Irish Propane is a locally operated, New York State certified, woman-owned business. For more information, visit irishpropane.com. Irish Propane delivers peace of mind.
Hello and welcome to another Through the Leadership Lens, a podcast presented by the Women in Propane Council. I am Freddie Riddler.
And I'm Bridget Kidd, and today we are so excited to have a very special guest in the industry, John Pena, who is the Director of Education at NC Tech, which is the North Carolina Technical Education Center. So, John, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for this opportunity. I've been looking forward to it. I know it got postponed a little while ago, but I'm excited. I thank both you and Freddie also and Jessica for inviting me for this great opportunity, and most important to the Women in Propane, and just excited.
Yeah, good. Well, so as you know, we talk about leadership on this podcast and within the propane industry, but also outside of the industry, which is where I think we're excited for your perspective. So for our listeners, I know that you have an extensive military career, and now we can maybe say a startup business with all the work you've done with NC Tech. But can you talk to us a little bit about kind of how you ended up where you are and what leadership means to you?
Sure, absolutely. Well, a little bit a background about myself here. I've been with the North Carolina Technical Education Center, serving as the director of education for about 2.5 years now. I came in right when the school was starting up. As a matter of fact, this school was held back a complete semester because of COVID. So we opened up the doors here right at the very end of COVID. And prior to that, I was serving in a technical training facility at Fort Drum, New York. I had just retired from active duty, 30 years of military service, serving in all ranks, all enlisted ranks, all the way from a private all the way through a command sergeant major, retiring as a command sergeant major for a large organization of about 750 soldiers there. Excuse me. And so when I retired, I really didn't know what I wanted, to do. Most of my life since I was 18 years old, I joined the military freshly out of high school. Really didn't know what direction of purpose I wanted to have for my life. I just knew that I wanted to get into something before I found myself getting into any kind of trouble. And so I joined the military. I like the military. I like the foundation, the discipline, the core group, all those fundamentals about being a good soldier. And I found myself just hungry to stay more actively involved in the military. And so needless to say, 2 years turned into four into 8. And then next thing you know, there I am, and I can remember when I hit about 25, 26 years, someone asked me, says, "So what are you going to do when you retire?" And honestly, I had no clue what I wanted to do. All I've ever known, for 30, up to that point, 25, 26 years is I just want to be a soldier for the rest of my life. This is all I ever want to do right here, So when it come time to retirement, or for retirement, I thought to myself, I was scratching myself in the head and thinking, what do I want to do? I want to stay affiliated with soldiers. I like the training aspect. I used to be a former range instructor in the Army, so I know platform training. I know how to influence people and being able to drive operations and training and those kind of things. So I found myself with a great opportunity to continue training soldiers, but in the civilian aspect. So I took on a contractor position in upstate New York, working in the same military installation that I was before. And then I got a phone call one day by a recruiter for this great opportunity here. And my current employer and supervisor was looking for someone to spearhead and kind of lead the school who had a military mindset, had some experience also in leading and training. And he felt, and the board members felt like, I made a good fit for the school. Couple of rounds of interviews, and then they brought me on staff here.
The rest is history.
There's so many questions I have, John, but I only have so much time. First of all, I do want to take a moment to say thank you for all of your services, and every veteran who listens to this podcast. Thank you for your services from the deepest of my heart. I know you guys lay it all out there for you and your family in this country. So hearing that, it just means so much. So thank you, John, for that.
You're very welcome,
Um,
Freddie.
I have to ask something, and as you talk about being in the military, you had to have some great advice from somebody in the military. You had to have somebody that kind of got you on that path, because you said you were in the military for 25 years. Did I catch that right?
30 years.
30.
30 years. Okay,
30
so
years.
who was your most influential person that said, John, this is the path for you?
Well, throughout my military career, my mother was probably one of my biggest influencers there. She's always been extremely very proud of me. I found myself at a young age of 12, and I'm the oldest of five. So I've got four younger siblings. When I was 12, our father ran out on us. And I can remember my mother looking at me and she says, I really need for you to think like a grown up. I really need for you to help me and to help be able to help your siblings, your brother and your sisters also as well. So there I found myself at 12 years old, learning how to help lead and guide and, those things. So, throughout my military, we skip forward. Now I'm in the military, and, every time that my mother and I would talk, she'd just be very positive with me, very influential. Hey, I think this is your calling here. You're doing extremely well. You're progressing through the ranks. You're doing all the hard schools, to prove to your soldiers and prove to, to the Army that you're in this, But if I were to say, she's always been a big influence in my life. But if I were to say that there was a pivotal moment in my military career that I had the highest influence of one great leader, it would be when I was deployed to Afghanistan in 2005. This was my second my combat deployment. My first one being to Iraq during the initial invasion for the first year, and then a year later after that, then I found myself, in the deserts of Afghanistan. We were conducting military operations, there. It wasn't a peacekeeping mission yet or a training mission. It was strictly, we were in combat. We were looking for the bad guys. And unfortunately, my platoon and we were conducting combat operations. I was serving as a platoon sergeant, and two vehicles in front of my vehicle during that combat operation struck an improvised explosive device. And I lost two soldiers. We were the first organization, we were the first unit during that combat operation to lose a soldier, And, when you see something catastrophic like that happen, nothing in the world, no amount of training, no matter how much leadership experience you have, how much training you have, how many classes. And, by this time, I've already had 3 or 4 different types of leadership courses that I've progressed through as I progressed through the ranks. Nothing can ever prepare you for such a horrific and catastrophic event. And to know that you've lost 2 soldiers, there, that deeply weighed on me, right? So we get them evacuated. We clean up the site. We go back to our forward operating base there because it took a long time to do recovery operations for those. We were so far out in remote areas. The only way that we could communicate was through satellite communications because we were so far out of range. And so we go back, and then investigators come out to survey the site, and, to do formal interviews with all of us and stuff like that. According to protocol, they're just doing their jobs. And then I remember, a day later, we were going to have a memorial service for Corporal Tucker. Now, good thing is, while we lost 2 soldiers out of the fight, one of them lost his life, which was Corporal Tucker. And we were going to do a memorial. We had planned to do a memorial service, and my battalion command team, which at the time was Lieutenant Colonel Stammer. He's a retired 2-star general now. he come down and he was such an influencer in all, in all of our lives. He loved to stay down in the trenches with the soldiers. And I remember him coming directly to me. And meanwhile, I had already been working under his leadership for well over a year. And I remember him looking at me in the eye and saying, Pena, what you do for the next week and how you lead these men to get back out there and stay engaged is really going to say a lot about your personal character.
Mm.
So you can either embrace this opportunity, okay, or you can let it go and it will not make you an effective leader. Because, and when I think about that, I think about, it's easy leading, okay? I'm going to call it. It's easy leading when all the conditions are perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It is. When it's
Yep.
nice outside and there's nice white poofy clouds and it's a perfect 80 degrees, low humidity, when I've got a full belly, when I've got a good night's rest, when I have no stress in my life, it's easy to be on top of the hill and say, you know what, I'm a great leader. But I really feel that people and leaders don't embrace the opportunities that they have, when they have setbacks, when they have shortcomings, when they fall, when they fail, when they fail, when the world is caving in. I think that embracing those opportunities there,
Mm-hmm.
looking at yourself and saying, I got to lead these men to get back out there. How do I do that when we just observed the most catastrophic event possible and we lost one of our own soldiers? I mean, that's sure terrorism 101 there.
Mm-hmm.
And I relate that to anything in this industry. I mean, it's been a big, huge challenge for me because we were standing up NC Tech right when I first came on board. And since then, we've had our fair set of challenges, and we've had to get creative, to be able to offer greater opportunities, for our industry members, and then also for people that want to come and work in propane. So I really dub it down to that one. That was a pivotal moment in my
Mm-hmm.
personal life, my time in the military, where now I got to look at myself in the mirror and ask myself, what kind of leader am I going to be? Am I going to embrace this opportunity here when we're down, when we're, when it's fearful, when we don't want to go back outside the walls of this forward operating base because we're afraid of losing another life. So what do we do? And I had to look at
Mm-hmm.
myself really hard and, get creative and use critical thinking skills to be able to lead, those people. And I think, it's those times that help me today to be, the leader that my supervisor wants in me, that my subordinates want in me, and it really shows, today.
Do you think, John, I just have to, and I just wonder how you take such a traumatic and significant event, right? Like you're describing. And then you go into the propane industry and NC Tech and standing up NC Tech with very serious challenges, post-COVID, regulatory issues, recruitment issues. And I would think it would be kind of difficult to say not how important are these issues, because they're obviously very important, but how do you come with the same level of enthusiasm for those issues that you like it? I mean, it's hard to jive the severity of being a leader in the situation you first described and applying that with measured response to the problems and challenges you're facing today.
Sure. When you think about leadership, there's so many different types, of describing words, adjectives out there, being decisive, being accountable, being adaptable, flexible, being positive, defendable. And the list just continues to go on and on and on. But I think, to me, and this has been my approach, and I didn't just one day wake up and think, you know what, I'm gonna. To me, I think that these three important things are going to make me successful here. But I think it's been through all of my, influence from my leaders, and then just by, trial and error, and then by understanding, myself also, and knowing myself and seeking self-improvement. I think it really boils down to, and this is just the way that I think, okay? Not a lot of people may think this way. But I think that what makes a great leader and what's helped me here to be successful, I think it really boils down to three things. I think it boils down to presence, okay? A leader's got to be present, okay? And I don't mean physically being here, at work. I don't mean being the first one into work and then being the last one out, trying to work the hardest, trying to work the longest hours, because truly, I don't judge a person, okay, whether they're working hard or not, based on the amount of hours that they're working, based on if they were, to work an hour early, they left an hour late. I really reflect back on productivity. How well are you doing, your job? So am I being present, in the moment? Am I grounded in trust? Am I grounded? Am I being a good team leader? Am I humble? Those kind of things. It's not the physical aspect.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, how well do my people perform, under my leadership? And am I helping our organizational growth? So that's one. Next thing, to me, I feel that it's important that kind of, it either makes you or break you, and that's communications. Communications, I always, I came up with this quote. I said, communications is always the key to all success or all failure. Okay, you got to be able to communicate. And I don't mean communicate down, to my employees or my subordinates. I mean, they've got to be able to communicate, left and right. They got to be able to openly and want to communicate also with me. And I got to be a good communicator to my supervisor also as well. So establishing a good organization that effectively communicates sideways and then also up and down. Because if you don't communicate, like, when I was in the military, you could be the most lethal force in the United States military. You could be the most lethal force. But if you can't communicate,
Mm-hmm.
you might as well be the least, trained and the least proficient organization. So I think that that's key. And probably the most important of all three of those for me is empowerment. Empowerment is so critical, and I think that's where a lot of leaders fail today. Okay, as an example, one of my current employees now, love this guy to death. I won't throw his name out there, but love this guy to death. Spent a lot of time working in the industry before we brought him on here and hired him as an instructor. As a matter of fact, he believed so much in our organization here at NC Tech that he sent his own son through the school, right? But I could tell what type of leaders that he had, in his history working in this industry here. Because I remember in the early ons, whenever we first brought him on board here, I would give him a task. I'd be like, hey, this is what we need to do, and this is the reason why we need to do that, And he would say, yep, I got it, okay? And then he would go away, and then he'd go away, and half hour, 45 minutes later, maybe an hour later, he'd come back to me. He's like, hey, here at the school, they call me JP. So JP, can you come take a look at something? Yeah, sure. So I go back, and take a look at it. Is this the way you want it done? And I would look at him. I'm like, wait a minute. It's not about my way. Okay. I asked you to do something. I want you to use critical thinking skills. I want you to do it your way as long as you're meeting my intent. That's it. And that's where I feel like a lot of leaders today don't get it right because they're micromanagers. Hey, this is what I want you to do, and this is how I want you to do it. That doesn't enable and help an individual to openly and free think on their own. And now what happens is, okay, when the leader gets sick or the leader has to go away, then all the subordinates come underneath, they come to work and they're like, so what do we do today?
Mm-hmm.
Because we've often been told, what to do and then also how to do it. So empowerment is huge, because if I have to go away, which I do, my supervisor takes me out and, we go meet all of our people across the entire complete Southeast. I may be gone for a week at a time, but I know that my subordinates know what our mission here is. And to be able to think like me, to be able to say, problem solve, say, okay, if we have an issue or we do have an issue, how would, JP take care of this? then we're going to just go ahead and take care of it and not even bother, letting them know, because it's not life, limb, or eyesight, and it's not a real world emergency. So let's just act, on his absence here.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So, JP, I'm going to use that from now on.
Okay.
It's interesting to hear you talk about the different strategies being a leader when you're in the military versus being a leader for your business, NC Tech. And do they ever kind of, I know leadership it can roll back and forth between what you've learned from the military and what you've learned in your company, but do they ever have to, one has to stay on one side on the other? For example, you're leading a team for safety in the military. You want to be safe. You want to be successful, but you want to be safe. When you're leading a team at NC Tech, you just want to be successful. You don't have to worry about the things that you had to worry about in the military. To me, I can't comprehend both of those, as they're both leadership responsibilities, but it's hard because I'm not in the military. I wasn't in the military to know, was there a difference in leadership, or at the end of the day, is it still the same thing?
To answer your question, Freddie, I mean, there are multiple facets of leadership. And I think what you have to understand is you have to understand your leadership traits, your leadership characteristics, how to positively influence to be able to accomplish the mission or a goal or the objective, and then adapt your leadership style to the situation, because every situation is different. The
Mm-hmm.
military and running a school is totally different, but I can use a lot of the influencing leadership traits that I applied in the military to be able to still successfully lead my school. What I consider success at NC Tech, it's not whether we come to work every single day and then we're able to keep the power running, and things like that. It's about the student. Okay, how successful is that student at the end of the day? When me and my instructors meet, and we do at the end of every day, how successful were we? Okay, I can look at test scores from the students. I can observe them, their interactions with with our instructors. I can see whenever they're conducting skills and performance skills, in our laboratories there, and whether or not they have a positive attitude and those kind of things. So to me, at the end, what I consider success by being an influential leader, and then also my subordinates or my instructors being influential leaders also, is how well the students are doing. Okay, and are we doing everything that we can do to prepare them for a great career, in working in the propane industry?
So, John, one thing that stuck out to me in your your three pillars of what you look at with leader is empowerment. Of course, I think it's very important and difficult to do. But two is productivity, because that resonates very clearly with me. I think in a post-COVID world, so many people have learned that we have a benefit now, right, of a balance, more of a balance than maybe we had before, and the recognition that there's a lot of multitasking that has to happen to have successful employees and a successful home life, whatever that may look like. When you look at your team and you look at empowering them and improving productivity, when you see the productivity kind of dipping, what do you do? What kind of leadership skills do you tap into to improve that and either bring up morale, which may be the driver, or increase that productivity and motivate employees to kind of raise the bar a little bit?
Sure. Great question. Well, you can't lead anybody unless you don't know them. Okay, so you got to be involved, and I don't mean involved like as in you got to know every little aspect of that individual, there, but you gotta know your people. You got to know their strengths. You got to know their weaknesses. What you can trust them with. You know what they may need assistance with and help. And it's also staying engaged. You got to stay engaged. There's multiple different ways that we stay engaged with each other every single day. We meet in the mornings before the students get here. We talk about what success is going to look like at the end, or what our plan is to, to educate and to train, our students that day, and then just stay actively engaged. that's one of the leadership traits, is just always knowing your people, knowing their strengths, knowing their weaknesses, and how you use your power of influence as a leader to be able to help them to work on their weaknesses, but also capture what they do very well as well.
Hmm.
Love
That's
it.
great. Yeah, that's that. So I like to hear that. So I just got a question as you're talking about all of that. JP, so you wake up in the morning and you know that you have to put on that leadership responsibility every single day. Like people are looking forward to talking to you, getting inspiration from you, driving those goals every single day. What inspires you? Like what gives you that drive to continue to be that leader?
Wow, Freddie, that's
I
that's
well, I'm listening to all
that's
your
a tough
inspiration.
question.
I'm like, how do you inspire yourself? Like, where does that
Yeah,
energy come
that's
from?
well, I tell you, I'm driven. I really am. I'm driven to. I feel like I drive myself to be successful. You know what I'm saying, every day. At the end of the day, even if I had a terrible day, you know what I'm saying, at work, which is very far and few in between, I still ask myself. I still, there's something that I can take positive from this day right here. I struggled. I got behind on, you know what I'm saying, on a task. A couple of the students didn't do very well. Maybe one of my instructors didn't have a, you know what I'm saying, good day, or maybe we had an instructor that was out sick or whatever. But I think just staying positive and being driven to always work hard to try to be better, you know what I'm saying, than we were yesterday. And then, a lot of it was just kind of, honed in me and instilled in me when I was in the military. Just you do whatever it takes to be successful. And that goes back to empowerment. You give task and you give purpose, you give a little bit of direction, and you give the real reason why, and then just let people run. So I'm driven by success. I still got a lot of hard work, I'm saying, ahead of me here at the school, for me to feel like we're sitting on top of that mountain. And then even then we can always, I'm saying, be better.
So I have two questions for you. One of them is, what do you do to continue to flex that muscle and build, maybe outside of NC Tech? You mentioned when you were in the military, you were taking classes, but what do you do to build your leadership skills and to continue to grow them?
Well, leadership is ongoing, because again, in the military, we always, the three things that influence, anything in life is the leader, the led, you know what I'm saying, the people who were leading, and then also the situation. So every situation is different. My challenges today at the school were not the same challenges I had when we first stood the school up.
Mhm.
A lot of different parameters and a lot of different things. The education system, because we are a license under the North Carolina proprietary education school system. They have a lot of different parameters now that we have to abide. The state improvement agency's office for the VA also, because we're able to, you know what I'm saying, accept military, personnel that have transitioned out of military service. So there's a lot more that, the dynamics have changed, things have changed. And I think you have to be an adaptable leader and always continuously to adapt your leadership style, your different leadership approach, because no situation is ever the same. To
Mhm.
also include, Freddie and I were talking, saying, before we started, saying the recording, about a little bit about the school. Well, when the school was first founded, it was founded under the North Carolina Propane Gas Association, right? And then it was just really, saying, we wanted to be able to invest in North Carolina. Yes, we were accepting people, saying, from other states also as well, but the school was founded here in North Carolina, And then now, since the inception of the Southeast Propane Alliance, now we have become not only North Carolina, but we have become the alliance's school. So it's now South Carolina, Georgia, and North Carolina as well. One of the challenges that that we've had is that we've had to influence our Georgia and our South Carolina members, and even our North Carolina members, far west and far east, the value of, sending their people here allowing us to educate them, to do all the hands-on training, to do the skills evaluation, helping them earn their certifications, the national certifications, to be able to go back. So I've had to, adopt, different approaches. For instance, my subordinates here, I mean, I can give them task and purpose now and then set them off and not have to worry about anything. But now, how do I influence other people to believe in me and believe in our leadership and believe in our school here when they're, one or two states over? So it's been a challenge. At times it's been a struggle. My supervisor and I, we collectively get our thinking caps together, and then come up with some, great ideas. We also take some, I'm saying, from our subordinates as well. We always want to keep them also involved, because that's the power of, whenever you get your subordinates involved, that's the power of commitment there versus compliance. I want
Yeah.
them to be committed, I'm saying, to our values here at the school. I want them to be committed, I'm saying, to what we do here at the school. I don't want them to be in compliance because I'm their leader and I'm telling them what to do and, I'm saying, and when to do it and how to do it. I refuse to be that kind of leader, but I want people to be committed to, I'm saying, to our school.
So I have now is my softball question for you. I have had the luxury of being relatively involved in NC Tech from kind of for a few years now. I've gotten to go to the school and see it all in motion, the magic happen. What are you most proud of with NC Tech?
Gosh, I mean, I'm very proud of my instructors. I'm really proud that I have a team um, of people that stay engaged with me to help the school to be successful. You know, I've got some extremely reliable board members. I've got probably the most competent and confident supervisor that I can. He has become my right hand man that I lean on all the time. But I mean, I'm just proud that people looked at my capabilities and my successes in the military, and how I could, come here on board with the school and then help the school grow. Again, we've had our fair, share of challenges, and we've had to use very creative thinking to create other greater opportunities, other programs and stuff, to continuous always hunting and being hungry to help the school, grow, and then also help our industry as well.
Yeah, I would do a little plug here for you guys that if our industry members or non-industry members, there's plenty of opportunities for people to get engaged, have not had a chance to look into NC Tech and the programs, I would highly recommend that they do that. There's a lot of opportunity there for whether you're in Washington State or Florida or Georgia or right there in North Carolina.
Right.
It's incredible work that's being done there under your leadership.
Sounds like a really good sponsorship for the Women Propane Council podcast.
Yeah.
Yes, great stories. Thank you so much, JP. So, what do you think, Bridget?
I think we do it. Let's have a
Should
little
we do
more
it?
fun.
All
Not that the
right.
West hasn't been fun.
It's been a lot of fun. It's been great getting to know you and your leadership skills, JP. So, this is the whip round, the Women Propane round. We're just going to fire off some questions at you, quick answers, and we'll see how many we can get through. And we'll go from there. So, Bridget, I'll let you get us started.
All right, I'm going to change up my first question.
Oh, that's a change.
I know. Describe yourself in one word.
Oh, adventurous. Adventurous. I'm not afraid to stand on 1,000-foot cliff and look straight down and think to myself, if I jumped off this cliff right now, would I make it? I spent a lot of time in the military jumping out of perfectly good airplanes, most of them in complete pitch black, dark. So I love adventure. I love to stay hungry and always seeking like my next adventure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, jumping into just the black would be very adventurous for me. Wow. So you go to a bookstore, JP, and you see a book there, and it's a story about your life. What would the title be?
Oh, Probably to live in the moment and relax more. Yeah.
I think everyone needs
Live
a.
in the moment. Oftentimes, we don't embrace. We like to embrace the good times, but oftentimes we don't like to embrace the hard times. We like to, compartmentalize them and stick them in a corner, and things like that. And I think that's where leaders get it wrong. They don't take the opportunity to embrace those times there, and of course, relax more. We can always relax more.
Well, that's great for my next question. What is your ideal vacation?
It is, Bridget, it is not relaxing. Because, you asked me the one describing word, and I said adventurous, and it's funny when I do go on vacation, I really, I do try hard. I try hard to that first day, just like, just relax, embrace it, stuff. And then I start driving myself crazy. Then I think to myself, like, I need to get a workout in, or I need to go do this, or I need to go see that, or whatever. So, my ideal is just having a lot of fun. But my ideal of fun, like my wife and I are seriously considering going to Moab next
Yes.
spring, because
Oh.
we want to hike, I want to do
Mm-hmm.
some radical stuff there. I want to ride ATVs.
Mhm.
I want to do some bouldering and that kind of stuff. And to me, that's just the way that my wife and I think. We think alike. We work even on vacation. We work out every morning. We figure out ways to stay engaged with our children, stay engaged with each other, and probably don't do enough relaxing.
Yeah. Well, relaxing doesn't have to be laying on the beach. It can be just
No.
cutting away, doing what you love to do. Well, I hope you go on that
Yes.
vacation, because then I want the itinerary.
Okay.
Plan it all out for us and pass it over to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
So, JP, what do you keep in the trunk of your car?
Lots of guns. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm
Jeez.
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
That's a first for that
Come
one.
on. I mean, you should probably know. 30-year military, person here. The one thing that I live by is don't forget anything. It's one of the Rogers Rangers standing orders. Being a former Army Ranger also, so don't forget anything. So, I've got a complete toolkit. I've got a half a case of water. I've got let's see, I've got petroleum products, extra petroleum products. I've got a small compressor. I've got a little tire patch kit, so in case I need to patch up a tire. Here's one: toilet paper. You just never know. You just never, ever, ever know.
You will be
So
always
all
be
kind of,
prepared.
saying emergency kit, a very robust emergency kit, first responder kit, and those kind of things like that.
If I ever
My
get
wife makes
stranded
my
in the
wife makes fun of me.
southeast, I hope you're there.
My wife makes fun of me because even this past weekend we went hiking. We have a son in the Air Force, and he came home for to visit us on the long holiday weekend. And one of the things that him and my wife love to do, and they drag me up and down mountains all the time, is go hiking. And even in my backpack, my wife's like, "Why is this thing so heavy?" Well, because I've got contingency gear and equipment. She said, it's only a 4.5, 5 mile hike. Well, you just never know. So if you
You
snap your
never
leg
know.
open, I've got a tourniquet.
Oh,
I've
jeez.
got everything ready for you. I've got a fire starter kit. I
I
can
love
send
it.
smoke signals out. Everything.
That's fantastic. All right. What about this? I am very curious about this answer, given where you were at 16 or about to be at 16 versus other people. What advice do you wish you would have known, or what do you wish you would have known when you were 16 that you know now?
Um, Gosh, I think to myself, like, when I was 16 compared to now, and I have children, and I'm married. I just think to myself, like, enjoy that moment at home. Like, life isn't so hard. I think that teenagers today, and even teenagers back in our day, or my day, I should say, like, everything was tough, everything was hard. And I think to myself, like, while I tried so hard to hurry up and get, I'm saying, out of high school and graduate
Hmm.
and do something with my life, I'm like, goes back to, like, embracing those moments. Just relax, and have fun, and enjoy your siblings and your parents and those kind of things. Because I know I didn't take nowhere near as much advantage of that when I was, at that age as I try to do it now with my mom and my siblings.
Yeah, that's great
Yeah.
advice.
Well, yeah, I'd like to hear that question because I have a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old, and 19-year-old. So I always bring back those answers to them and say, "Are you doing this stuff? Are you talking to your own self about this?"
Yeah.
So JP, if you had a superpower, what would it be?
Well, if I had a superpower, I would probably try to rewind the hands of time and fix a lot of my mistakes. You know, if I could go back, and looking at myself now, some of the critical mistakes, whether it was hurting feelings or dropping the ball on something important or maybe just not making the right decision, if I had that kind of superpower, then I would go back and rewind the hands of time. But that's, hindsight is 2020. But during those times when we fall and we falter and we make the wrong decisions, and if we care enough about that, that kind of helps, when we change for the positive and change for better, that we just build character, so.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you think, we talk about this, my family talks about this a lot, like if you would have made a different decision that maybe in retrospect you think was right, what does that do
Mm-hmm.
to the next series of events?
Right.
And you
Right.
you never know. I mean, you just never know what the ideal outcome was.
Right.
It's
My wife and I,
tough.
we are firm believers that when things happen in our life, no matter what, no matter if it was, someone cut me off and I had to slam on brakes for 5 seconds and come to a complete stop, or whether it was I got a flat tire or I'm running late, I'm sick today, whatever, everything in life has some form of meaning and purpose, because I'm a firm believer in the good Lord upstairs, and he paves the way for us every day. But sometimes being cut off, and then having to stop for 5-10 seconds there, it started a chain of events where, later on in life, a week from now, 2 weeks from now, a month from now, saved me from something stupid,
Mm-hmm.
happening to me or whatever,
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
we embrace, my wife and I don't, why is this happening to us? No, we embrace it. It's happening because it's supposed to happen.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I think that is a great spot to stop. It's happening because it's supposed to be happening. There's a great
Yeah.
piece of advice.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. John, thank you so much. This was really great.
Yes,
I
I've
can't
had
wait
a
for
lot of
this
fun.
to go live.
Yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
for joining us. That was a lot of fun. And again, just one more shout out. Thanks to all the veterans. We
Yeah.
can't say it enough. Thank you for all of your services. So if you're listening, just know that everyone at the Women in Propane team, they just really thank everyone for all the services they've provided. So
You're very welcome.
Thanks,
You're very
JP.
welcome. Yes.
This has been another episode of Through the Leadership Lens, presented by Women in Propane. Be sure to subscribe, download, and share with a friend. To learn more about Women in Propane, visit us on Facebook, Instagram, or online at www.womeninpropane.org. I'm Freddie Riddler.
And I'm Bridget Kidd. Thanks for listening. Until next time.